Drugs during wartime was a very common occurrence that's not typically talked about. And one of the first examples is Berserker Vikings. They would take the natural psychedelic mushrooms from their homeland.
Some of the benefits of these mushrooms is they'd give you increased stamina, they'd make you physically stronger, you'd have a much higher pain tolerance, you wouldn't feel as much pain, and it would send you into such a rage. It was just kill, 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 to make you much more effective in combat.
And some of the negatives to this is that they would become disoriented, and they would trip, fall, they would miss their hits, and a lot of times they would take too much, so they would poison themselves with the amount that they were taking. A lot of times they would become so enraged that they would kill their own teammates in combat. Fast forward to World War One, frontline soldiers were using drugs such as cocaine and morphine.
They would use cocaine because it would heighten your senses, keep you awake, and make you more confident.
All right, and what about morphine?
Morphine was used on the front lines to get down soldiers back into battle as soon as possible.
Some of the cons to cocaine is they had long-term heart issues because of how fast their bodies were trying to run. And they had very big hits for about 30 minutes and then immediate crashes. So there was a horrid downside to that, not controlled whatsoever. And morphine, it had very similar consequences. There was horrible withdrawals, just as much as cocaine, and the long-term heart issues as well. It was just very uncontrolled. And from some veterans said that the drugs were so bad that they were possibly worse than the PTSD itself. Transitioning to World War II, Nazi soldiers were using drugs such as methamphetamines.
The pros to these drugs, as I like to call them, the 3 A's: alert, confident, and awake for days.
There was many cons to the methamphetamine usage as well. They were having horrible addiction and withdrawals, and they were having very, very bad hallucinations and seeing things. And the mental and physical challenges from using it was horrendous, long-term effects. In World War II, the Allies were using morphine as well, and an alternative to methamphetamine called Benzodrine.
The pros to Benzodrine were reduced fatigue, increased alertness, and it helped both pilots and soldiers stay awake.
And there was many cons to the Benzodrine as well. They had horrible addiction risks, and they were irritable and jittery the entire time that they were on it, and the energy crashes afterwards were just as bad as any other drugs that we've talked about previously. Moving on to the Vietnam War, our soldiers were using morphine and heroin.
While in effect, heroin caused reduced stress and pain, and American soldiers really started figuring out how to use morphine, so it really helped repress shock and reduce pain.
The downsides to heroin is they had a very high risk of addiction, and they were less effective in combat. And the morphine, they became very drowsy after being treated, and the addiction rates were very high still.
Action.
Transitioning to World War II, Nazi soldiers were using drugs such as methamphetamines.
The pros to these drugs, as I like to call them, the 3 A's: alert, confident, and awake for days.
I
You got me jumping like